Isabel Ora. The Panama Papers reveal how offshore bank accounts and tax havens are used by the world's rich and powerful to conceal their wealth and avoid taxes. The international elite, politicians, dictators, criminals, billionaires and celebs amass vast wealth and then benefit from the elaborate webs of shell companies to disguise their identities and their assets. The investigators of tax avoidance must have clean hands and no ties with this legal corruption. The Panama Papers reveal an industry that flourishes in the ethical gaps and holes of international finance that must be legally and morally closed internationally, with every country becoming signatory to an international tax treaty that sends a clear message to the international elite that offshore banking and tax havens cannot be tolerated when half the world lies in suffering poverty. Lost tax revenue is one consequence of this hidden system. Even more dangerous is its deep damage to the democratic rule and regional stability, when the corrupt elite have safe havens for hiding stolen national assets, and local councils waste taxpayers' money borrowing from banks instead of the government. UK-linked tax havens are the biggest G8 culprits. People using tax havens are depriving the world of more than $300 billion in lost revenue, enough money to end extreme poverty 3 times over. A high proportion of this tax dodging is taking place on David Cameron and George Osborne's watch. Of the $30 trillion being held by individuals in tax havens around the globe, over a quarter is sitting in British overseas territories and Crown dependency accounts. Despite the fact a deal was done earlier to get some of these tax havens to become more transparent, share tax information, there must be a moral and ethically viable international transparent tax deal agreed that will benefit the poor countries who are struggling to reclaim the billions of pounds they are owed by the occult elite. It is a moral outrage and a scandal that the rich are technically stealing from the very poor, and the blood of these innocent suffering billions of souls worldwide is on the hands of the rich and powerful, who do nothing to stop the shedding of innocent blood through the moral and unethical fraud and corruption. The UK lacks credibility when their GDP is involved in the exploitation of the suffering poor, and the hypocrisy of talking tax whilst continuing to allow a third of the world's wealth to enter morally corrupt UK tax havens risks making a mockery of David Cameron's leadership at the G8 summit in June, as he and George Osborne continue to tour the world making hollow promises whilst the blood of the suffering poor cry out to God for justice.